am going to say to my colleagues that are on YouTube, hey, good evening to you. It is Thursday, and like any other Thursday, guess what happens? We gather here and we talk to a guest, and this guest is anyone and everyone who does property or who does real estate. Got a couple of questions that I've got. I ask them, and we have the conversation. And you will see that I've got two screens today. So some of my friends are going to be watching me today. You're watching me on YouTube, but for today also we are also going to be on Instagram. Instagram, yeah. So let us see whether my friend is up there on the Instagram. It doesn't look like it, but let's see whether they will be coming through. Oh yeah, so here we go. Let's invite them. Let's bring them in. Let's bring them in. Where are you watching me from? Right? That's the question. Where are you watching me from? I see a couple of people. It says, "Hey TJ, we are waiting already." Bongani, how's it going? Welcome. He is in the Joburg South in Omonde, right? And who's this one? Hahiso. Yeah, Hahiso favorite. That's the name. Yeah, good having you around. And yeah, where's the other people? Where's the other people? I want to see. There's about how many of us? 170 of us that are on here. And I only get 2 hellos. This is so unfair, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, I want to see from you. I mean, we spend this evening here talking about real estate, and I spend my time to go out and we look out for people that are doing property. And let me see whether I can see the other person that's coming on board. But if they're not coming on board, that's all right. I can see that they're in the back end. So I think without wasting time, I'm just going to bring them in and we can talk about it, right? And we can talk about it. All right. Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, good. Awesome stuff. So we are almost there in a minute or in a second, and we are there. So today I've got someone else who's called Lesetja, and I call him the governor, but you are not allowed to call him the governor because he is my governor. And he's a brother that's been doing property for a minute. And I thought, let's bring him in and to talk about what he does and why he does what he does. So without wasting time, let me welcome Lesetja. Lesetja, how's it going, man? You are on mute on this side here. So I think you need to go on off mute. Yeah, there you go. So that we can hear you. So on one side we can hear you. I think there you go.
There might be an interference.
Yeah. Can you hear us there though? Because it looks like you got 2 devices there, but I wonder whether we can hear you both, man. Okay. Welcome. How's it going? Okay. It looks like we can hear you on the Insta, but we can't hear you on YouTube though. So I do think that you probably need to lower the volume on one of the other devices or something like that for you to be able to hear us on both sides so that we don't get the feedback though.
I think there might be an interference.
You think so too? I think let's do
Yeah,
it this
in
way.
one of the.
We're going to go on mute on this one here. Everyone else who's on Instagram, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, you will have to come to YouTube. And we will drop off on Insta because of the feedback that we're getting. So if you are watching us on Insta right now, I know we haven't started, but if you want us to go ahead, so Lesetja has just disappeared now. So Lesetja, I need you to come back into the YouTube. We are leaving Insta. We are coming into YouTube. Is that all right? Okay, so I'm gonna wait for you to come back. So the guys that are on Insta, come to YouTube, and then we can have the conversation there on the YouTube channel. So that is great. So cheers, everybody from the Instagram. Right. Okay, cool. All right, let's bring in Lesetja. Right. The technicality part of this thing has been causing us a bit of confusion. Let's start at the top. Lesetja, how's it going?
That's technology for you. I'm good, and how are you, TJ?
Good, man. Good. It's great having you around on the show. We are going to go as fast as we can to catch up to the 3 minutes that the technology has let us down. I got a couple of people that are saying hello. By the way, Lesetja, he's a property investor, but I'm not going to ask him to. I'm not going to say to give him what he does. He can tell us who he is. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, as we go along tonight, you can ask questions. As we go along, they could be based on Lesetja himself, or it could be based on your circumstance. And myself and Lesetja, right at the end, we will address and we will try to help you. Okay, we will try to help you on some of your questions. So let's kick off. Lesetja, who is Lesetja? Where are you from, and what do you do, man?
All right. Thanks, TJ, and good evening, everyone. My name is Lesetja Toona. I'm first and foremost a husband and a father to my 2 children. So I'm still doing a 9 to 5, senior finance manager in government, and I'm also a property investor. So in brief, that's Lesetja.
Right. So Lesetja, did your wife tell you that if you're to go live, you have to say first and foremost, I am husband.
No. She did not. I regard myself as a family man, and my family is my pillar of everything basically that I do. So
Sure.
they are the driving force and the motivation behind everything that I do and everything that I try to achieve. So I have not been given a script.
Even if you have been given a script, someone said to me the other day, a happy wife makes it a happy home. I'm like, whew, that's a tall order. I need to make my wife happy all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you say to me that you're a property investor, but you also have a job. You still have a job at the moment.
Yeah, I still have a job.
Okay, cool. Do you have any intentions of leaving your job, or are you aiming to still balance the two? Yeah.
I'm aiming to balance the two for now, but ultimately my plan is to, to go into property investing on a full-time basis. At some point, that's basically what I'm working at. And at the moment, I'm just utilizing my affordability, the fact that I still have a pay slip, to build my assets, not necessary for my lifestyle, but to bring to acquire the assets that would be able to sustain me beyond my 9 to 5, or after I've quit my 9 to 5.
So a lot of people actually think that, actually not a lot of people think, but I have seen that, if you're working for the government, it's kind of like impossible for the government to fire you. I don't know if you know anyone who's been fired in the government circles, but they say that the government is the best employer, because once you're in, you're in. You can't be fired, and you're there for life. And obviously, also the government has very nice perks for people like you higher up in the food chain. Firstly, have you ever seen anyone getting fired in the government? That's number one. And then number two, obviously, we all know that the government is the best employer, because they make their money from collecting all of the 45% that they collect from all the people around the country. And for us, people who are entrepreneurs, they collect up to 28%. So the government is in a good shape. But yeah, my first question, and then my last question is, why would you want to leave a good employer like
Have I seen someone being fired? Yes, I have seen a couple of people being fired from government, by the way. So there have been a couple of people that I know that were fired from their government jobs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have seen that. Why would I want to leave a cushy job? I think it's most
I
got
didn't
to do.
say a cushy. You're the one who's saying it's a cushy job.
That's what you imply when you mention all the perks and everything that government has to offer. But I think at some point you reach a level where you believe that there's still so much that you need to do out there, and your role in that at that particular organization, or being an employee for that matter, may have come to an end, and you want to explore other avenues and see what you are actually capable of doing. Stretch yourself, especially where you believe that there is no guarantee of a payment, because I mean of a salary. You don't know what you're capable of until you reach a stage where without having an option is the last option, basically. So I think the moment you are comfortable, there's something wrong. So I want to get out of, not that I'm comfortable, but I want to get out of that zone and challenge myself, and also be an employer myself, because the intention is to make sure that we create employment for our family, for our children.
Okay, cool. Where are you based, Lesetja?
I'm based in Centurion, in Pretoria.
Okay.
So in
Have,
Gauteng.
have you have you always been based in Gauteng, or you were born in a different space?
I was born in a different town. I was born in an area. It's a village. I'm a village rural boy, as rural as they come. An area called Muleji, Masidi. It's about 35 kilometers outside of Polokwane in Limpopo. So that's where
Right.
I was based, and I studied there until matric, and I came to Gauteng, Pretoria, Josie, Gauteng, Maboneng. When I was doing my first year in 1999. And part of my work, I've worked in Bloemfontein for a year. I've worked in PE for a year and a couple of months. And I came back to Pretoria, and I have been in Pretoria since then.
Okay. There's quite a lot of I don't know how true it is. I'm not from Limpopo, so there's talk about guys from Limpopo, that plant a tree. And for you, I see that you didn't plant the tree and left it in Limpopo, but it's there in your background. You're making sure that it's growing.
Yes. we're in tune with nature, TJ.
I see. I see. Lesetja, what was your first job, brother? Your first job ever, or the first ways in which you ever made money? At what age were you in, and how did you start making money?
I went to boarding school when I was doing standard 9. I think they called it what, grade 11.
Yeah.
I remember when I went to boarding school, by the way. So there was a camera lying at home. So when I went to boarding school, I didn't tell anyone. I simply just took that camera because I saw that as an opportunity to go there and make money. So I took that, and those old cameras, not digital cameras, but you're using a film. So I took that camera that has been lying at home. I didn't know the state of the condition of that camera. So I took that camera and went to boarding school. Went to boarding school. I was still doing grade 11, and told the guys, I'm a cameraman. So there was already a resident cameraman there at school, boarding school. So I said, if he charges five rand per photo, I'm gonna charge 4 rand. So, but you pay me a deposit. So they all pay me a deposit, put in the film, took pictures, and Monday I went to town to go and watch the film as we were doing at that time. I don't want to tell you how those pictures came about. So my camera career ended before it even started.
I think for a lot of some of our script, our audience that are younger, probably that just grew up in cell phone era, they're really struggling to follow you on this watching of the film, man. You are showing how old you are, but I'll leave it at that, man. So,
That was
what
our
did you do with
time.
the? Sure, man. What did you do with the money?
Look, I had the money because they paid me the deposit, and I went to town to watch the film, and yeah, no, it was bad. So I had to refund them, and I'm not really from a well-off family. So now I had to refund them. So I incurred the cost to go to town. I incurred the cost to, to watch that film. And so yeah, you could then imagine I then had to make arrangements to repay them. So I never went back to being a photographer again.
So, can we officially say that your first business was a disaster then?
It was.
Yeah.
And I learned. I think the valuable lessons that I got from there was that I should have made sure that the camera works and it was in good condition. So I just took it from home, and I did not know the conditions, and I did not even have experience nor the lessons in capturing photos and doing all those other things.
Mm-hmm. And subsequent to this business, have you done other businesses that have also failed, or other businesses that have done great?
I've done other businesses, and when I was still a student at tertiary, I used to sell cell phones. At the end of the semester, most students would be broke, so they would sell their cell phones. At that time, they were using the phone was 5110, Nokia 5110. Before the Samsungs and the iPhones, there were no iPhones at that time. So I knew that
Yeah.
most students would be broke. I would buy their cell phones at 300, at most 350. And then at the beginning of semester, which is a month later, I would then sell those cell phones for 500 rands. So that's basically how I made my money. And until I wanted to then expand my property, I mean my cell phone business. So I saw an ad in the newspaper, Sunday newspaper. They were selling nice cell phones, the Ericssons. Remember the flip ones, the Ericssons. So I said now is an opportunity for me to tap into a higher LSM market within the institution.
Mm.
So I paid the money, not even the deposit. I then indicated how many cell phones I wanted, and on Monday I saw it on a Sunday newspaper. I completed the order form, went to the bank, deposited the money, and so the problem started when I tried to fax them the order form and the deposit slip. So when the fax didn't go through, and we're using fax at that time, there was no email, or emails were there, but they were not as popular. So when I tried to fax it, so on Monday I thought maybe it's because they've got a huge volume, but I kept on trying it until Thursday. When we called them, then the number didn't go through again. So I realized that I was scammed. The last formal business other than property that I tried, we bought a pie shop. It was run by my wife basically. So we bought a pie shop and paid it cash for it. It was a different franchise, and we bought pies. And my wife doesn't want to see a pie, by the way. So we were then selling pies, and we tried to introduce pap and flakes, and yeah, it failed spectacularly as well. So we didn't make as much as we thought we could. One, we did not have the experience to run that, and two, we also did not have the systems in place. One, to account for the inventory that we had, and two, for all the purchases that were made. So those were the mistakes that we made, not actually having proper systems in place. So yeah, I've had my fair share of failures, of lessons rather.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, some of those lessons sounds painful, but now you're in property now, part time, and what? Why are you in property?
Well, property it's based mostly for passive income. Although it's not really passive per se, but the ability to generate income while you still own that assets. That's basically what actually attracted me into property. But I don't think it was a deliberate decision to go into property. I think it was more of the trial and errors, and I also believed that one needed to have a property, because my own property journey started when I wanted to buy my residential property, and there were so many things that I did not understand, that I did not know. I then eventually joined a real estate and became an intern agent, and the whole intention was actually to learn about the industry, not to make money. Making money would have been a bonus. To make money, I mean, to learn about the industry. And during that year, I did it for about a year and a half. I only made one sale. I think my commission was about 7,000 after all the costs. And I was there every week. And but I can tell you that the lessons that I learned has partly assisted me when I ventured into my property business.
What do you focus in now? What's your thing in property? I mean, there's quite a lot of things that many facets in the property space. What's your thing, or maybe things?
Currently, I'm focusing on multi-let. We buying block of flats. I'm in partnership now. We buying block of flats because we realize that you require the same amount of effort and time to manage a 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom, flat or a house as you would with a block of flat. So we currently buying block of flats and also venturing into student accommodation as well. Given the rewards that are there when it comes to student accommodation. But it's mainly because I always say, if you want to earn 50,000 rand per month, net, cash flow from property, you can do it with one property, you can do it with 5 properties, you can do it with 100 properties. It all depends on your risk appetite and also how knowledgeable and educated you are when it comes to property. So that is currently that I'm currently focusing on, but also on property education. So I've then taken the experience that I have and sharing them with those that want to venture into property education to make sure that they don't make mistakes that some of us have made.
Speaking of the passive income that you mentioned, that property can give you passive income. What do you mean by passive income? Because I think that word it's thrown around quite a lot, and I don't think people really understand what does passive mean. Because I honestly don't think that there's anything that is passive. I've recently been understanding that what a lot of people think that it's passive. It's probably low effort, but maybe a high return. So you have to do something, but it's just that you're getting a higher return. And
Sure.
For me, I like those kind of businesses where I put in low effort, but at least I get a high return into it. So I can be able to do multiple things because I'm putting low effort. But low effort doesn't mean that you're lazing around, right?
Sure.
There's a difference. They're lazing around and not doing anything. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you just joined us, welcome. I am having a conversation with a good friend of mine here, Lesetja, and I call him the governor. And we are talking about his journey in the property space, but he's just been telling us of some of his failures that he has had personally and when he got married to his wife. And at the end of this session, we could potentially be able to answer some of your questions. So whatever questions that you've got, be it in your personal circumstance, some of the things that the governor is talking about, you can, whatever channel you are watching us on, you can type in there and we will be able to address that just now. Lesetja, he is from Limpopo, and as you can see, he's got his tree behind him and making sure that everything else is going well there. Let's jump on to the passive income, brother. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, passive income, true. It doesn't mean that you're not doing anything. It doesn't mean it's a social grant. You earn for doing absolutely nothing.
Social grant. Let me tell you, I saw an advert the other day on social grants, right?
Yeah.
And you know what it said, Lesetja? It said, I can assist you to get a child grant even if you don't have a baby.
Yeah, you can see how bad it is. Yeah,
Sure.
that's shocking and that's very bad, and that
Yeah.
should be discouraged. At all costs.
Yeah. But anyway,
Yeah,
tell us passive income.
yeah. So passive income, it's the income that you earn on a regular basis. It could be monthly, it could be weekly, it could be quarterly. That you earn on a regular basis without actually putting in much effort. You might have put in the effort at the beginning. If you're going to buy shares, for example, you did your work by ensuring that you buy into a company that is trustworthy. If you buy a property, you did the work by doing due diligence before you buy. At the beginning. So your passive income, it's equated to the amount of time that you then put in. Because even if you're managing your own property, or you're not even managing your own property, you need to check with the managing agent on a regular basis, because the last thing that you want is to find yourself in a situation where if you don't go and visit the property and you don't get regular feedback, to find that your property has actually been hijacked. So you'd need to go there. So there's a bit of work that you need to do, but the returns relative to the time that you need to put in, it's quite massive. If I don't go to work, I'm not gonna be paid because that's an active income. So my ability to earn income from my job is dependent on me being there, being available, other than when I'm on leave. So it means for as long as I am there, I'm expected to be there. It is only then that I will earn income. If I'm not there, or if I don't have the ability to earn income, that's why you could be medically bottomed and so on. So it means your ability to earn income has invariably come to an end. So passive income is the income that you get on a regular basis while putting very little effort.
Okay. You speak about buying blocks of flats now. That's what you and your partners do, and you are now interested in accommodation. That's a big thing in terms of just from a mindset and looking at it from a guy who's coming from a small town, in Limpopo, and now you're coming into the big city and you're buying these blocks of flats. I mean, I don't know from your family. I am the first person to have done this in my family. So I am going what I call uncharted territories, where if I tell any of my family members that, that block of flats there, it's mine, people can't comprehend it. And the reason why I'm wanting to share this, Lesetja, with you is that where did you get the thinking that, oh, I can actually buy this? Because where we come from, that's very foreign. And if something is foreign, you can't comprehend it. You don't even understand it.
Yeah, I think to start with, where I come from, the village that I come from, not Mulej, but the actual village that I come from, we don't have double stories to start with.
Right.
It's just a single story, houses, but properties and houses. So we don't have that, and I think what my parents did, it was mainly because fortunately they were both teachers, so they encouraged us to go to school. So most of I'm the last born in the family. Although I don't behave like a last born, I always say I work even more harder than as if I was the first. I was the first born. So one, to encourage us to go to school and get the education, and secondly, I've always been a risk taker, and once I started, you know, learning more about the property investment, because I tell people that if someone says, I want to buy a property, I always say to them, I would rather that you take the next 3 6 months to invest in yourself, to understand exactly what is going on, and the intricacies that are involved in property, whether it's property acquisition, property management, and the whole value chain, in property. So given the lessons that I have, and the school fees that I've paid, I then said, I've had a bachelor flat, I've had 1-bedroom flat, I've had 3-bedroom houses, for example. Now it was about scaling now. Now I want to move from earning 2,000 rand per month, towards earning your 20,000 rand per month, 30,000 rand per month. And I then realized that with block of flats, you could actually earn that from one property acquisition. I know you could still do the multi-lets, which is still a multi-let. Whether you do the legal one or the illegal ones, I prefer to do, the legal ones in terms of the multi-lets. But it's more of the income and the efforts that I would then need to put vis-a-vis the returns that one will get, in that. So it was more of a scaling up, and then say, this is what I have done. Now I need to move my property journey to another level.
So you mentioned the legal and legal multi-lets. I think multi-lets are very, very. I think there's lots of people that are confused around it, misunderstood. Let me say that. What is an illegal multi-let and why is it illegal?
A multi-let, basically, it's you are using the land, so it's about the land use. You're using the land for the purpose for which it was not intended for. If you've got a house, for example, in the middle of a residential area, so you find that the zoning of that house only allows 1 dwelling or 2 dwellings. And they also go further and say it must be people who are related to one another. You understand?
Yeah.
So if you've got people who are not, that would be the municipal bylaw.
Right.
Yes. So today, if you are using it for, and you've got multiple families, you've got multiple people who are then not related to one another. And so if you look at the zoning of that particular piece of land, so you may find that they only allow 2 structures. More often than not, you find that people have actually built, back rooms and so on and so forth. And those may not be allowed. I'm not saying they are, but they may not be allowed. You may find that there are no approved plans, or the land has not been rezoned, because you may then need to rezone it, either from your res 1 to a commercial or to a higher res, meaning it allows a higher density. Even the rates and taxes are actually going to be higher. So the illegality of it comes in when you are not using it in line with the approved, zoning of that particular piece of land.
Okay, cool. When you started in property, you mentioned that you started off as almost like an intern in estate agent, and now you're buying these blocks of flats, student accommodation. Is there a particular time when you were really like you were thinking this is not going to work, this is not for you, and all you were seeing was just challenges and challenges in the property space? And what was the one challenge that you could kind of like look back and just say, sure, that was my biggest challenge, and how did you overcome that right at the beginning when you were coming up?
Yeah, when I started, well, I've never doubted the property, but because of the lack of education, that I did not have at that time, the education that I did not have at that time, I then believed that I remember at some point, I had to sell my house because we wanted to move to another house. I had to sell the current house because there were no structures and so on and so forth. I had to sell that house so that we could then move into another house. And I remember that another mistake that I also made was to sell the current investment property, which was a flat at that time, because I did not know about the refinancing. I was broke. My pipe business was not doing well. I then said, you know what, I've got this property. I can actually get so much so that I can then get out of the pie shop business. Because at the time, I was then funding it from my own salary. And it was depleted at some point. But because of the lack of education at that time, I then had to sell that property. And with the benefits of hindsight now, I would not have sold the properties that I had. So the challenges would have been affordability at that time, because you know what, I knew that I could not afford it, and with my salary, if I could only afford for 500,000, I already have another residential property. So then I would then reach a limit.
When you went into your other businesses, and you some of them you did well and some of them you failed, and you had some lessons that you took away in all of this. And now that you are in property, it almost sounds like you have arrived. You are at the destination of, oh, okay, this is the thing for me that I'm going to do. And I'm almost wondering why property. Maybe why not open a chicken pie, or why not go and buy a franchise for Nando's? Why not anything else? Or why not an accounting business, because you're in finance? So why property?
In fact, there was a time where I was looking at franchise. I joined all the association. I was attending the training, and when I had the pie shop, I wanted to buy one of the franchise. By the way, but the difficulty with the franchise is that you need to have what we call unencumbered cash. Unencumbered cash is that's money that's sitting there. If they say they need 500, I mean, it's the franchise is 500,000. They need 100,000 unencumbered. So meaning you can't take it from your credit card. It has to be a cash that's lying there, which a lot of people would not even have it, because I remember asking to say, can I then take money from my house? They said, no, we want unencumbered cash. Can I take it and put it in my savings account and show it to you? So that was my problem with the franchise. So I never went into franchise, but I attended so many seminars, so many education with regards to franchise, because I really wanted to venture into franchise, but because of that requirement of unencumbered cash, so it was a barrier for me. But with property, you need, you can get 100% financing, got a good credit record, and you're buying well. You can actually use the bank's money. For as long as you're still employed, you've got a pay slip, you can take advantage of that, and use the bank's money. Although you're still going to pay it back, but the beauty about property is that you can get 100% financing. I can't get financing to buy shares. You can still get financing for a franchise, but I would need what they call unencumbered cash. So that's why I then opted for property, but also for the income that I will get from property, and also the fact that I can then leave that property, for the next generation. So it was more of a motivation for me to continue into property, or rather to venture into property.
Okay, now that's cool. So you sound like, well, at the beginning you said that firstly you're a husband, so which means that you are married. Um, you got a family, kids, maybe dogs and cats.
Yes, I've got a family. I've got a wife. I've got 2 children. I know
Yeah,
2 children.
yeah.
I, so yeah, I've got 2 children. With my wife, I don't have any other children. So yeah, I'm married with 2 children. A young girl and a young boy. They are becoming teenagers now.
Okay. Uh, how do you then look? A lot of people that they say to me they don't have time, and I look at you and I say, well, you're employed, you are married, so your employer demands maybe 10 hours of your time. Your missus maybe demands another, I don't know, an hour to 2 hours of your time. And you've got kids, they're also demanding in their own right. And without forgetting yourself, you also need time for yourself. Um, but you still find time to go and look for partners and do business with. And lots of people come to me and say, TJ, I don't have the time. I don't have the time. How do you balance that? The family aspect, the business aspect, the spouse aspect, all of these things that are dependent. Because we all have 24 hours in a day.
True. Yeah, it depends on how you utilize your 24 hours, TJ. So there is no, I don't think there is such a thing as balance. It's all about prioritization. You've got an option of going out with your friends, or you've got an option of being with your family, or you've got an option of continuing to work. Because you can imagine if your employer wants you to work until 8 p.m. So you've got an option of not delivering, potentially being fired the following day. Although we said in government it does take time, but eventually you will be fired because it means you will not have delivered. So it's all about this. I don't think there's a balance per se. It's about prioritization. What is important to you, because you can then make a conscious decision and say, let me be a slave now, so that I can then live like a king in the next 5 years. You work like crazy. You prioritize, because the last thing that you want is for your kids have grown and you don't even know what happened to them. They don't even know you. So mine was more for prioritization, to prioritize my way, to prioritize the property business, and to prioritize my family. And there will be other things, see my friends and so on and so forth. So there are times where I go months without seeing my friends. I go months without actually going home, because I'm quite busy, to be honest with you. It's all Zoom classes. It's continuing to empower myself. So you choose how you want to use your 24 hours. I remember you once made a joke about someone else in our class, and you said, no, maybe you need to pray less. Because so as no, because in what you're doing, there's nothing about yourself and developing yourself. I know it was a joke. You said maybe you need to pray less. So it's all about what is important to you. Praying could be important to you, so of course you need to balance it with developing yourself, and also where you want to be, because you can't say I want to be financially independent and build a portfolio, but you don't put in the work. So it's not gonna do it itself. Because you can say I will then partner or invest with other people, but you need to understand exactly what is going on and how your money is actually being utilized. So I think that's important for me. There's really no balance. It's about choosing and prioritizing. I choose my family over my friends, and I choose building myself over going out and partying and doing all these other things, because it's all about what is important for me at this stage. I can still be with my friends in 6 months' time.
My family and I, we've just reintroduced what we call family, extended family. So family is my wife and my 2 kids. Recently, we've just extended now to seeing my brothers and so on, to once a quarter, because in the last 3, 4, 5 years, sometimes the whole year could go by. I remember one of my brothers was very upset that all I do is business and business and business. I don't even call him. He was upset around that, but I was building, and I'm still building at the time. And now we're in a different life space where we can now afford maybe a Saturday. And of late, I was telling my wife that I want to double up what I'm earning right now, so I might want to go back to my whole Saturday working. You know, I'm leaving home at 6 o'clock and I'm coming back home like 7. But I want you to gauge me on the results. So I'm accountable to you that I'm going, but I'm going to double that up. So I think you're very right in terms of it's prioritizing, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
From the time that you started doing property, particularly, and to where you are today. You've bought properties, you've sold them, you've kept some. Now you're buying buildings, you're doing student accommodation, you're partnering up with other people. All of these are different strategies, and some people would really feel overwhelmed with all of these things that you're doing. And the one question that I want to ask you is, what are the benefits that you're already starting to see now? And maybe 5 years ago or 3 years ago, you were saying, "Oh, I just want to have a property that's giving me 10,000." You know, is it a monetary value? Is it a time value or benefit? Whatever that it is, what is it that you have now started to see as a benefit and it's now manifesting?
Look, it's other than the monetary benefit, I think it's more of when I believe that you've got a problem, because I always believe that your problem is someone else's previous solution. If you've got a problem now, you must know that someone has solved that problem previously. And the
Mm.
fact that I've built access, I could pick up the phone, send a WhatsApp, send a message, call someone and say, this is the situation that I find myself in. How do I deal with this property deal, for example? How do I deal with these transactions? And that connection and that advice that could potentially either make or break the deal is what I actually appreciate more, rather than the financial benefits. And the fact that you've got like-minded business, in the same industry, people make you think. You may think that I've arrived at the block of flats and realize that you can actually own a mall. Why do you need to limit yourself to the block of flats? Let's go and build a mall. You don't have a mall where you come from. Is it not possible? You've got the knowledge. You've got, some people can come and say, I've got people, I've got financiers, I've got people that I know that can actually invest in that. Let's go home and build a mall. So, why not? So it's about seeing what you never thought that you could actually see. Because if you think that now that I have arrived, you must never ever get comfortable. You are here. Tomorrow, challenge yourself to go to the next level. After you've arrived, challenge yourself to go to the next level. You don't want to rest on your laurels. But I think most importantly, it's about the connections that one has established, in this field as well.
So speaking of connections, right? I want to tell you a short story. When I sound like I'm bragging, but it's just the way it is.
It's true.
Um, yeah. So I think it was last night. Yeah, last night. Last night, around about this time, I learned about another friend of mine who's just bought a property out in Port Elizabeth. 100 students, and he says to me, TJ, I'm going to Port Elizabeth to sort of over the weekend to see how best I can manage this. And I said to him, 100 students, why are you managing 100 students? That's a lot of work. And I've got a business, which is called My Student House. And I said, I can manage that building for you. And he says to me, TJ, I was thinking about it, but I, you know, can we make it happen? I'm going there tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock. And I said, yeah, we can do it. And I picked up the phone, called our team at My Student House, and today they were in PE, and that building is now being managed by someone else. And this person here who had bought it, he was actually now trying to figure out, how do I do it? And because of us being in a community, something that he was going to try to figure it out over a weekend and trying to do errors and trying to do it himself and putting in systems and putting all of those problems. I've removed all of those problems for him with just one single phone call. Um, and for me, you've just hit that on the head, man, because connections that we have can lead us to another path that we didn't even think about. And that's gold. No money
That's
can
true.
buy.
That's true. You can
Yeah.
imagine the stress that you saved him. One, the cost of flying down to PE. He doesn't have the system. That stress. But knowing very well that there's someone that you're giving the property to manage that property. The only thing that you need to do is just to wait for payment at the end of the month. So it has actually taken the stress away from that person, and that is invaluable. You can't put value to that, by the way. The fact that you don't even need to worry, it has become TJ's problem. And whatever happens to the property, whatever happens to the students, it's no longer his problem. You understand? So you're coming with the systems and the processes, and he doesn't. He's just tapping into what is already there, what is already existing, what has been perfected. So that is gold. And I think a lot of people sometimes want to do things ourselves. Instead of tapping into other people's, because we say we use other people's money, but also tap into other people's systems as well.
Yeah, by the way, you say that it's TJ's problem. It's not. I'm here talking to you. It's not my problem.
The team.
TJ's got a team. There's a system around it. They are well experienced people working in that business. They've gone to Port Elizabeth. I don't need to go there. They're going to give him a solution. They will come and report to me and say, this is how it's going to work. And I'm going to agree with it because they are the specialist in the business, even though when I own it. We're coming to a very important slot, man, in the session where we talk about a deal that you have done that you are happy to share with us from the beginning to the end in terms of what is it and how did it transpire and why is it a best deal for you?
Yeah, I've done a couple of deals, and this one is not necessarily about the cash flow that it brings and how much my asset base has actually grown. It was actually in 2016. It was an online auction. They were not as popular at that time. It was an online auction. So this company is either, I think it had defrauded one of the banks, ABSA, in fact, to be specific. So they'd gone to court, and so they were selling, those properties. There were a number of properties, in fact. So I then submitted a bid. So what used to happen at that time is they would open the bid today and they would close tomorrow, at 12 o'clock. Typically, what I would do is quarter to 12, I would log in, I would register well in time. Sometimes it would open for a week, but I would only time 15 minutes before closure. I would then go and look at all the properties and see the highest bids. And because at 12 o'clock it closes, not now where it says, if someone submits a deal, they extend it by 2 minutes. So what I did, it was an online auction, like I said. So I went there 10 minutes, 15 minutes before, looked at it and saw, okay, 3 bedrooms, which one is the lowest? So there's this one that they seem not to be interested in. I submitted my bid at that time and I became the winner, the highest bidder. I got that property. I bought that property unseen, and I always discourage people from doing that. You must never ever do that. So I bought that property unseen. So the first time I went to see the property, I was with my wife, was when we went to fetch the keys. So we didn't know the horror that awaited us. Fortunately, when we got there, it was just a few tiles that had chipped. Everything was just intact, and we just needed to repaint it. We spent less than 10,000 rand, fixing up the place, and we put in tenants. So I got that property for 300,000, and at the time the rental, because we were renting it in the room, was 6.5. So it's not necessarily what the cash flow that one was making. So as and when I began to learn, then in 2019, I said to my wife, I'm gonna give you the, because I already began my property journey. Like I said, I started in 2019. So I said to my wife, I'm gonna give you the wedding that we always wanted, a white wedding. Now we can do a white wedding. So I refinanced it, refinance that money. I know we always say refinance that money and go and buy the next deal, but I think the wedding was important, especially for my wife. So we then took that money and did our wedding, and we even, it afforded us to go on honeymoon. So invariably, I said that property paid for our wedding. I wanted to sell it. My wife said, no, we don't sell it. It's got sentimental value. Let's leave it. It's still cash flowing. Let's leave it. So that's my best deal. It's my best deal not because of the cash flow. The block of flats actually makes more than that, but it is what it has enabled me to do. Because with my salary, as a matter of fact, otherwise I would have drawn into debt. With my salary, I couldn't do a white wedding or the type of wedding that we actually wanted. You'd have compromised on a lot of things, but the type of wedding that we wanted, and we couldn't do it with a salary, because reality is a salary can only go as far as it could. So that's the best deal. Why? Because I was able to take my wife on honeymoon and have our wedding day, both in countries, by the way,
Amazing.
both in Botswana and in South Africa. So I didn't go to anyone and say, my brother, can you give me 10,000 rand so that I can buy a cow? My sister, can you give me this so that I can do that? Whoever came on board, they came on board. But we were prepared, and because of that property. So that's one of the reasons why I love about property. We still have it. So it is the tenant that basically paid us for our wedding. And it doesn't mean that it's something that I needed to take over to SARS. I didn't have to pay SARS anything. So that's the beauty about property.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I would also keep it as one of my best properties. So well done on that one, man. Yeah, there's so many questions I could potentially ask you on that deal, but I'm going to leave it to the people to ask the questions because you threw in some very foreign words and things like that. That I do think that some of our guests, if they are no guests, they might be wondering what is that. But I will give them the opportunity to ask the questions if they don't. So that means that they are getting it. What is the one thing, Lesetja, that when you're starting off, you kind of like underestimated and you're like, nah, I can do this. And you are actually finding it that today it is one of your key pillars in your business today.
It's to be friends with a calculator.
Right.
It's a simple. It's to be friends with the calculator. Don't try to work the numbers in your head. You need to put them here and say these are the actual costs. Because what I used to do, I would then just say, okay, here's the rental income, and potentially this is gonna be the monthly bond repayment, levies, and sometimes I'll try to convince myself that the deal will work. But once you put it on paper, you understand, you put it in paper and it is there. So your calculator in terms of your due diligence becomes your friend. It's there. So they say numbers never lie. So if it's 100, it's 100. If it's not 100, you can't make it look like something that is 100. No, it's not.
I think my biggest thing for me right now is this whole concept of due diligence. The more I'm in business, the more I'm realizing that sometimes even when the numbers are looking as if they're good, what else can you find that might come and make the numbers not work or reduce the numbers that you can find in your due diligence? So due diligence, it's one of those just big things.
True.
I want us to go. We are at the top of the hour now, and traditionally we end at this time. But I do want to say to everyone that I apologize. We did start in like a little bit late, 7 minutes late. Please allow us to go through like 10 minutes in. And Lesetja, I'm just going to ask you, and this time around, I just want like a one-word answer onto these questions here as we go along, so that we can go in and answer some of the questions that the guys have been asking. You got a favorite book that you've got? Maybe a business book or something?
A lot of business books, but this one is not. It's not a business book. I like Chinua Achebe. I beg your pardon. When things fall apart. When they say the center doesn't hold. I love that. When things fall apart. It's quite classic.
The brother from Nigeria, yeah.
Of course.
Right. What advice would you give your younger self? I mean, if you're to reflect, you speak of cassettes and films, and all those other things that ancient people speak about. If you had to look back on your younger years, I mean, I don't even know about films and all of those things. But what advice would you give yourself?
One is to save to invest, and learn as much as you can about investing. Whether it's property, whether it's shares, learn as much as you can about investing, and fail earlier, and learn from your failures, and pick yourself up and move on. So don't be afraid of failure. Fail while you're still young, and also don't never be ashamed of asking for advice. Get a mentor if you need to. In fact, you must. In fact.
You can repeat that, man.
Get a mentor.
Yeah.
You must.
Yeah, it's a must.
You will avoid so many mistakes, because you're working with someone who's doing it, and they've already failed. You don't have to fail. You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
And I think this concept of the mentor is misunderstood as well, because I am of the view that wherever you see your life needs improvement, you should get a mentor. It's not about property. It's not about property alone. I'm like, okay, let's get a property mentor. It's your entire life. If you suck at kissing, go and get a mentor for kissing. If you suck at cooking, go and get a mentor for cooking. If you suck at driving, you know what I mean?
True.
That's my view. Yeah.
Now we all need mentors, in all, because our lives have compartments. So if you compartmentalize it and say, I don't think I'm the best husband that I should be to my wife, and the best dad should be to my kids. You can go to your pastor, you can go to someone else that you know can assist you to be a better husband, to be a better father. So that is one compartment. To be the best employee, for an example. You understand? Go to someone who's already walked the journey. They may not be in the same field, but someone who's already done that. You want to start property. So it's all about the compartments and where in the areas that you want to improvements on.
Yeah, cool. You've been around successful people, and those that are coming up, those that have also spiked very hard. What do you think differentiates those that are successful and those that are not?
It's about their tenacity. Yeah. It's about their commitment, and they also finish what they start. More often than not, people would start with enthusiasm because they've learned something today. They're gonna start, but they're not gonna finish it. So those are among other things that will differentiate successful people from unsuccessful people. They've got the tenacity, they've got the commitment, they finish what they start, and they make mistakes, learn from their mistake, and move on quickly.
Right. I'm just gonna go into the questions. We've got 5 minutes left into the show, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks a lot for being here and watching us all the way. I've been speaking to the governor, and yeah, great story, man. And I really appreciate you being here and gracing us for our audience to listen to what you do and why you do it. And I've got one question here that's coming in from, I've just randomly picked. And this is Kalum Key. He's asking the question, how do you convince your wife? And this is the problem with many of us. And I don't think that when so Carlo, I take it that he's a man. So because he's saying that yeah, he's trying to convince his wife. So the question is, how do you convince your wife to take the risk? Because I am having a tough time here. 90% of my business ideas have been disapproved, and this quite frustrating. So the question here, it's not about men to the wife, right? You could be the wife trying
The
to
husband.
convince the husband, or you could be, these days you could be same sex as well, trying to convince. I don't know what they call it themselves. I haven't gone into that realm yet. But let's just say partner, right? You could be the partner here trying to convince the other partner. You seem to have figured it out.
Well, fortunately, because my wife is also a business person, so it has not been that difficult. But she has also seen the benefits, of what I'm doing. Hypothetically speaking, let's say, I've just met her, this is what I'm doing, and the frustration that he has. One, it's try as much as you can to involve your wife. You understand? Have a conversation. Let it be a continuous conversation. While at the dinner table and having a conversation, light conversation. Baby, I've TJ has done 1, 2, and 3, and it's something that I've always been looking at. Lesetja or whoever has actually done 1, 2, and 3, and this is something that I've also been, that I want to do. And also, because I involve my family, I go viewing with my family, including my kids, by the way. So I don't think there is a formula per se, but just try to bring your partner along. If there is a seminar that you're attending, surprise her with a ticket, you understand, and say, baby, there is a seminar on property, on Saturday. I want us to go there and, we start learning about, yes, you start learning about property. Buy them books, share them with the books, and say, this is the book that I'm currently reading. And watch the videos together, involve them, let them also see the benefits. Also, the day that you do one deal, I recently, like I said, started doing coaching. I took my money, I would say my first salary from there, the proceedings. I took my family out for Mother's Day. We went out, we sleep out, because I said to my wife, this is my first paycheck. I could take it, go out with the boys. I could take it and do something else. So I said to my wife, this is the money. I want us to go out and go out with the kids. And I pampered them. They had massage, my daughter and my wife, they had massage, they had those other things. So even my kids, they are able to see the benefits of what you're doing. But I think what is important is involve your wife. Don't force her or don't force your partner. Involve them. Try to show them the benefit and also show them that you're quite passionate about it. You are reading the books, you share with them. If you're watching the videos, you share with them. Try to involve them as much as you possibly can. Surprise them with a ticket. If you're going to have a seminar, for example, or an event in Cape Town, and you know that she loves Cape Town, or she has never been to Cape Town, make it a trip and say, baby, you know what, I'm going to surprise you. We're going to Cape Town this weekend. There's a property seminar. We'll get an opportunity. We're going to go on Friday and come back on Sunday. The seminar is going to be on Saturday. Friday, I've booked this and that. Sunday, we'll come back late. We'll do this and that. So she then begins to see the benefits of what you are doing. It may not be financial at the moment, but the benefits. I think if you trigger to Cape Town or Durban or wherever, then she would realize, one, you are passionate about it, but also the benefit. And you say, baby, the next time there will be one in Dubai. Once I have reached that stage, it will be easy for us to travel to Dubai, for example.
I like that. I really like that. Make it an experience. That's what I'm taking from you. Make it an experience and reap some rewards that everyone else can see. That's what I'm hearing from you. Journey together. That's the third thing that I got from you. Thanks a lot on that one, Lesetja. Someone is Yolanda is asking, how do you transfer a rental property from personal account to business account that is not yet active? I want you to take that.
All right, go ahead.
Will you allow me to do that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Right. There is no one answer for that one. You need to consult a professional. There is multiple ways that you can do it. You can donate, you can sell it, there's multiples. Based on your circumstance, based on the value of the property, there's many um, circumstances that needs to be considered about you, about the finances, and the time. Maybe the property is cash, maybe it's bonded. If it's bonded, now there's a big brother that you need to ask, which is the bank. So there is no one answer for that one. But there is options, and consult with an attorney. Right.
Sure.
That's what I can say. Right. The next one that I can go through too. All right. Is this one a question or a comment? I'm a first-time investor. However, I do not have a good credit record. This is Gift 95. So I was considering going into a core borrower. I don't know what that is, but Lesetja, you can tell us. You're the governor. Core borrower partnership with a friend of mine. He has the credit and I have the deposit. Okay, I get what he's saying.
Yeah.
You're in partnership. Tell us.
Yeah, I think that one is more of partnership. Because it's gonna be more of partnership. The other thing that you must also take into account is if you're going to own the business together, the bank will not only look at the friends that has a good credit record, they will also look at you as well. So it will be very important how you structure that partnership. If you've got the deposit, because if you apply, and as long as you are on the document, either you're the shareholder or you're a director, the bank would still require you, to want to be vetted as well, look at your credit history and so on. And they may also deny that because in partnership, it's more like married in community of property. So you can't say, I've got a good credit record, my wife doesn't. So they're going to look at you, both of you. But I think there are also various strategies that you can then employ in terms of buying properties, other than the typical traditional way of actually buying properties. So you can consult and get someone who will mentor you in terms of the strategies that are there that you can then use to buy a partnership, that you can use to buy a property, the self finance and so on. But it's best that you get someone who has done it and who knows how that is actually done. They can actually assist you.
Awesome stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all clap hands for the governor, Lesetja Toona. And he's been telling us of his journey. And Lesetja, I want to say to you, thank you to your success, brother, in what you are doing. I know you're pushing hard. Continue at it. Whatever you do, you can 10x that, hey, in the years to come. So thanks a lot on that. Any closing words from you?
No, thanks a lot. I think look, it's nothing worth having in life. It's easy. You're gonna have to choose your what do they call it? Your task or your pain rather. You're gonna have to choose the pain, either the pain of success or the pain of poverty. So you're gonna have to choose the pain. And look, success comes at a cost of friendship, sometimes at a cost of family. So if you really want it, go for it. There is nothing that cannot be achieved in this world. You want to be a multi-millionaire, it is possible, you can do it. So whatever that you set your mind to, go out there, do it, and you can achieve it. And don't be afraid of asking. Don't be afraid of asking for help.
Awesome stuff. Thanks, Lesetja. We will see you again soon. Hopefully, we'll be inviting you again. All right.
Thanks a lot, TJ.
Thanks, brother. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Lesetja. I call it the governor, like I did say. And to all of you guys who's been here, I do want to say that right at the top of the commentary there, I did say to you, if you're a property investor and you have done investments before, and you want to share your story just like Lesetja has done, right at the top of the commentary, you will see that we have dropped in a link, and that link is literally called M5-My Property Journey. Give us your story, and we will definitely invite you on here. But for some of you who are wanting to invest in property, you are wanting to do it on a passively, I would like to invite you to say to you, you can invest with us. We do have some investments that start off from 10,000 Rand. You earn your 12% per year, and you can earn as far, or you can invest as far as a minimum of 200,000. And if you lock that money for, let's say, 5 years, you get to earn 20% on your money. So that means that you're doubling your money in 5 years. So you can invest from 10,000, you lock your money for a year, you earn 12%, right? Or you can invest anything from 100,000 plus, you earn 15% on the money, and you lock that money for 1 year. Or you invest a minimum of 100,000 and you lock that money for 3 years and you get 18% on your money. Or you invest a minimum of 200,000 and you lock your money for 5 years and you earn 20% on your money. To get a call back in the link, there is a link there that says invest with M5 Property Addicts 2022, and we will be able to help you out. We can call you. But for now, let me know in the comments what else would you like to hear from us, as and when we bring in these special guests, and we bring them for you. For me, sometimes I bring them for myself, to learn for myself. But if there is specific things that you want us to talk about in the comments, let us know. Or you want to ask some more questions, again, let us know. If you're getting stuck and you want to learn a little bit more, again, you can learn with us at M5 Property University. Until we meet again, we will catch you on the next video.